The sun is up now, though you wish it wasn't. Light means visibility. Visibility means the other side can see you. And you can see them. They are there, across the field. At first they are just shapes, a dark smear against the brown and green. But as your eyes adjust, as the morning mist burns off, they become men. Thousands of them. Stretching left and right farther than you can see. You try to count them, but your brain stops somewhere around the realization that it does not matter. Numbers are just numbers. What matters is that they are here, and they are armed, and they did not march through the night to turn around now. Someone near you whispers a prayer. Another man crosses himself. A third just stands there, staring, his mouth slightly open, his eyes empty. You have seen that look before. It is what happens when the mind decides it has had enough and simply leaves the body to manage on its own. The order comes down the line. Form up. The words pass from mouth to mouth, each man turning to the next, passing the message like a bucket in a fire line. Except the fire is coming, and you are the ones who will burn. You move into position. Left foot here. Right foot there. Shield up just enough to see over the top. The man to your left is someone you know. His name is something. You cannot remember it right now. The man to your right is a stranger. He arrived last night with a group of reinforcements. You did not ask where he came from. You do not ask where anyone came from. The only question that matters now is where they will be when the sun goes down. The shield wall takes shape. It is not straight. It is never straight. Men shuffle and adjust, bumping into each other, swearing under their breaths. Someone's spear dips too low and nearly takes out the knees of the man in front. Someone else's shield is upside down and he does not notice. You do not tell him. There is no time. There is never enough time. A drum begins to beat. Slow. Steady. It comes from behind you, from your own side, but it feels like it is coming from inside your chest. Each thud matches your heartbeat, or maybe your heartbeat has surrendered and is now matching the drum. You cannot tell. You do not want to know. Across the field, you hear their drums too. A different rhythm. Faster. Urgent. They are telling their men something you cannot understand, but the meaning is clear. Prepare. Move. Kill. You grip your weapon. Your hand is slick with sweat. You adjust your grip. It slips again. You wipe your palm on your tunic and take hold once more. The wood feels strange in your fingers. Too light. Too heavy. You cannot decide. The man to your left speaks. His voice is calm, which is worse than if he were screaming. He says, "Remember to breathe." You nod. You had forgotten. You take a breath. It helps. A little. The drums grow louder. Both sides now. A conversation in thunder. Your side slows its beat. Theirs speeds up. You do not know what this means, but your body knows. Your body has understood things your mind has not yet accepted. Your knees are weak. Your bowels are loose. Your mouth is dry despite the morning damp. You are a walking collection of symptoms, each one shouting the same message. Run. Run now. Run while you still can. But you do not run. None of you run. Because somewhere ahead, past the drummers and the standard bearers and the mounted knights with their polished armor, there is a line you have not crossed yet. A line that still separates you from them. A line that, once crossed, cannot be uncrossed. And you are waiting. All of you. Thousands of men on both sides. Waiting for someone to move first. Waiting for the first fool to step forward and start something that cannot be stopped. The drums beat on. The sun climbs higher. The sweat runs down your back and pools at your waist where your armor bites into flesh. You wonder if this is the worst part. The waiting. The knowing. The standing here with nothing to do but think about what is coming. You decide it is. The waiting is the worst part. And then, without warning, the waiting ends. You open your eyes and for one single second, you forget where you are. The sky is still dark. The air is cold. And for that brief moment, you are somewhere else. Home, maybe. A bed. A fire. A woman's voice calling you in from the fields. Then the sound comes. Not a horn, exactly. Something between a horn and a man screaming. It cuts through the darkness like a blade and you remember everything. Where you are, Why you are here. What is coming. You try to move and your body tells you something you do not want to hear. You slept in your armor. Again. Because taking it off last night would have meant facing the truth that you might have to put it back on in the dark. So you kept it on. And now your chainmail has fused itself to your skin in ways that make you wonder if you will ever feel your own shoulders again. The gambeson underneath is soaked with sweat that dried hours ago and now feels like a second skin made of wet wool and regret. Around you, the camp is stirring. Men are emerging from their cloaks like the dead rising from shallow graves. One man sits up and immediately vomits onto the ground between his feet. No one comments. No one helps. That is just what mornings look like here. Another man is trying to pull something out of his boot with a knife. You do not ask what it is. You do not want to know. A third soldier is still asleep, his head resting in a helmet that filled with rainwater during the night. Someone kicks the helmet as they walk past. The man does not wake up. Maybe he is smarter than all of you. You look down at your own hands. They are shaking. Not from fear. Not yet. From cold. From hunger. From the simple truth that your body has been running on nothing but spite and stale air for 3 days. You clench your fists and the shaking stops. Mostly. Breakfast appears. You use that word loosely. A man with one eye and a ladle that looks older than he has dropped something into your palm. Bread. You think. It is hard enough to stop an arrow and grey in ways that bread should never be grey. You bite down and your jaw makes a sound that concerns you. You chew anyway. Because the alternative is facing what comes next on an empty stomach, and you have heard that men fight harder when they are full. You are not sure if that is true. But you are not willing to test it. The ale is warm. It is always warm. But it is wet and it washes down the bread, and for a moment, that is enough. You look around at the faces near you. Most of them you have known for weeks. Some you met yesterday. A few you do not recognize at all, which means they arrived last night while you were pretending to sleep. You will learn their names today. Or you will not. Either way, by nightfall, it will not matter. A man sits down next to you. He does not speak. He just stares at the horizon where the sun has not yet risen. You follow his gaze. Somewhere out there, in the darkness, the other army is waking up too. Their own fires are dying. Their own men are chewing their own grey bread. Their own hands are shaking. You wonder if they are thinking the same thing you are thinking. That maybe, just maybe, this could be avoided. That one side could simply walk away. That someone, somewhere, could make a decision that saves 10,000 lives. Then you remember that you are not here because of decisions. You are here because of momentum. Because your Lord chose a side. Because his Lord chose another. Because somewhere far from this field, men who will never hold a sword decided that this patch of mud was worth dying for. And now here you are. Sitting in the dark. Waiting for the sun. You finish the bread. You finish the ale. And for the first time this morning, you let yourself think about what happens next. Not the battle. Not the dying. Just the next few minutes. Standing up. Falling into line. Putting one foot in front of the other until you cannot anymore. The man next to you finally speaks. His voice is quiet. Broken. He says 3 words that hang in the air like smoke. I am scared. You do not respond. Because there is nothing to say. Because he is not telling you something you do not already know. Because scared is not the exception here. Scared is the baseline. Scared is the starting point that every man in this camp shares, whether they admit it or not. You stand up. Your legs remind you that you are alive, which is not entirely a good thing right now. The armor shifts and settles into new places. You will be feeling those places for hours. Somewhere in the darkness, a voice begins to shout. Not words, exactly. Just sounds. Orders being passed down a line of men who do not want to hear them. The camp begins to move. Bodies shuffling. Equipment clanking. The slow, reluctant machinery of an army coming to life. You look east. The sky is changing. Just a little. Just enough to see the shape of the hills. Just enough to know that the darkness will not last forever. You are not sure if that is a comfort or a curse. You take a step forward. Then another. The man who was scared is behind you now. You do not look back. You cannot afford to. Because the sun is coming. And with it, everything else. Before we begin, pause whatever you are doing. Find a place where it is quiet. Turn the lights down low. And if you have headphones, put them on. Because tonight, you are not watching history from a safe distance. Tonight, you are walking onto the field. You have seen the movies. The slow-motion charges. The heroic music swelling as armies collide. The knight who always finds his enemy and always wins. But that is not what happened. That is not what any of this looked like through the eyes of the men who were there. What did it actually feel like to stand in a shield wall at dawn? To hear the enemy drumming on the other side of the field and know that in a few hours, one of you would not be walking away. To look at the man beside you, the man you have shared bread with, the man whose name you know, and wonder if you will watch him die. What did you think about in the final moments before the charge? Did you pray? Did you cry? Did you simply stop thinking at all? And when it was over, when the field was littered with bodies and the crows were already circling, what did you tell yourself to keep going? How did you sleep that night? How did you ever sleep again? This is not a story about generals and glory. This is about the last thing a soldier saw before the ground came up to meet him. This is about you standing in his place. If you want to know what actually happened when the two lines met and the screaming started, stay with me. And if you want more stories like this, stories that pull you into the past and refuse to let go, hit subscribe right now. Drop a like if you are ready to see the truth behind the myth. Take a breath. The horns are sounding. The line is moving. And you are about to find out what it really meant to be there. The waiting ends. It does not end with a speech or a signal or a hero's cry. It ends with a sound. A soft sound at first, like wind through dry leaves. Then louder. A whisper that becomes a rush that becomes a roar. You look up and the sky is gone. Not gone like clouds have covered it. Gone like something has punched a hole through the blue and left behind only darkness. Arrows. Hundreds of them. Thousands. A cloud of death moving toward you with the lazy grace of something that knows it cannot miss. You have time to think one thought. Just one. It is not a prayer or a promise or the name of someone you love. It is simply this. Oh. Then they arrive. The sound is what stays with you. Not the screaming, though there is plenty of that. The sound of arrows striking is unlike anything else. They do not whistle or sing like the stories claim. They thud. They crack. They punch through leather and flesh and bone with a noise that is wet and dry at the same time. A sound that your brain cannot categorize because nothing in your life has prepared you for it. The man 2 rows ahead drops. An arrow stands out from his shoulder like a flagpole. He does not scream. He just looks at it, confused, as if someone has played a joke he does not understand. Then he falls and you cannot see him anymore. You raise your shield. You do not remember deciding to do this. Your arm simply moves. The shield comes up and suddenly it is the most important thing in your world. You curl behind it, making yourself small, making yourself less of a target. An arrow slams into the wood with a force that travels down your arm and into your spine. You feel it in your teeth. Another hits the ground beside your foot, burying itself halfway to the feathers. Another passes so close to your face you feel the wind of it. You name your shield. You do not decide to do this either. The name just comes. Gerald. You do not know why. You do not care why. Gerald is going to keep you alive. You whisper this to Gerald. You promise him things. You will never complain about his weight. You will never replace him. You will carry him home and hang him on a wall and tell your grandchildren his name. If you live. The first volley ends. You peek over the top of Gerald and see what is left. Bodies. Some moving. Some still. A man to your left is on his knees, both hands pressed to his face, blood running through his fingers. A man to your right is simply gone. Not dead. Gone. You do not understand this until you see the space where he stood and realize that you will never understand anything again. Then you hear it. The second volley. The whisper in the sky. You curl behind Gerald and wait. That is all anyone can do now. Wait and pray and hold on to something that feels solid. The arrows come again. And again. And again. Each time you rise from behind Gerald, Fewer men rise with you. When the sky finally clears, when the last arrow has buried itself in the mud or in someone's chest, you look across the field. The enemy is moving. They are coming. A line of shields and spears and screaming mouths. They are not running. They are walking. Slow. Deliberate. Each step bringing them closer to the space where you stand. You look down at Gerald. You look at the man beside you. The man who was scared. He is still here. Somehow. His eyes meet yours, and for a moment, you are not enemies with the men walking toward you. You are not soldiers or pawns or pieces on a board. You are just two men who woke up this morning and will probably not see the night. He nods. You nod back. Then you turn toward the enemy and you wait for the world to end. You do not remember the moment the battle ended. You do not remember the enemy turning or the shouting fading or the last spear finding its mark. You remember only that one moment you were fighting, swinging, pushing, screaming, and the next you were standing in silence with blood on your hands that may or may not be your own. The man who was scared is still beside you. You do not know how. You do not ask. He is holding his side where something has cut through his tunic. The blood is dark and slow. That is good. Fast blood means something important has been opened. Slow blood means you might live long enough to wish you had not. You look down at Gerald. There is an arrow buried in his wood. You did not notice it hit. You pull it out and drop it on the ground. Gerald has saved you. You will keep your promise. You will take him home. Around you, the field is waking up. Not the dead. They are done. But the living are beginning to move, to groan, to call out for help or water or their mothers. The sounds are soft at first. Then louder. A man somewhere is screaming the same word over and over. It might be a name. It might be a prayer. It might be nothing at all. You try to walk and your legs remember that they exist. Each step is a discovery. You did not know your knee could hurt this way. You did not know your back had so many separate pieces, each one demanding attention. You did not know that breathing could feel like someone is running a blade between your ribs with every inhale. The enemy is gone. Or most of them are. The ones who could run have run. The ones who could not are here, scattered among your own dead, their faces turned toward a sky they cannot see. You step over one. Then another. You try not to look at their faces. You fail. One of them is very young. Younger than you. His eyes are open and he is looking at nothing, and you wonder if he had a name or a family or a girl waiting somewhere. You decide he did not. You decide that makes it easier. You know it is a lie. A hand reaches up and grabs your ankle. You freeze. You look down. A man is lying in the mud, his armor split open, his chest barely moving. He is not from your side. His mouth moves but no sound comes out. He is asking for something. Water. Mercy. Death. You cannot tell. You stand there looking at him and he looks at you and neither of you knows what happens next. You kneel down. You do not know why. Your body moves before your mind can stop it. You unsling the water skin from your shoulder and you hold it to his lips. He drinks. The water runs down his chin and mixes with the mud and the blood, and you do not know if this is kindness or cruelty or something in between. When he is done, he closes his eyes. You do not know if he will open them again. You stand up and walk away and you do not look back. The field stretches on forever. Bodies and broken weapons and banners torn and trampled. You see a horse standing alone, its rider nowhere near. It is not moving. Just standing. Waiting for something that will not come. You find a place to sit. A rock. A fallen tree. Something that is not mud. You sit down and you realize you are still holding your weapon. You set it beside you. Your hands are shaking again. You watch them shake and you think about nothing because thinking about something would be too much. The sun is higher now. You do not know what time it is. You do not know how long you have been sitting here. Men are moving around you, searching for friends, for enemies, for anything worth taking. Someone is crying nearby. Someone else is laughing. The laughter is worse. You close your eyes. Just for a moment. Behind your eyelids you see faces. The man who grabbed your ankle. The young one with the open eyes. The man beside you this morning who is no longer beside you now. You open your eyes again. A priest walks past. He does not stop. He does not offer comfort. He is looking for someone specific, or maybe just looking for a place to start. His robes are stained with things that will never wash out. You think about standing up. You think about walking back to camp. You think about what comes next. Tomorrow. Next week. Next year. You cannot see any of it. The future ends at the edge of this field. For now, you sit. You breathe. You wait for the shaking to stop. It does not.